A pleasant good afternoon, gentlemen, ladies as well, but specifically, it's Men's Health Month, and this is a men's health event. So special thank you to the gentlemen who are here with us live, as well as those who are tuned in online. This is going to be a simple conversation. Yes? We're going to run through a couple of things. First up, put yourselves back in your chairs or sit back a little bit. Good. Unfold the hands, unfold the arms. Put them down either on the table or put them on your thighs and just sit back and take a breath. Take a breath. One in, one out. Take one in, hold it, let it out, pause, take another breath. Do the same thing, hold, let out. All right. Now I want you to think first about where you are. Look around you. Can you see where you are? Take a breath, sniff the air, see what's happening. Snap your fingers. Good. I wrote a quote this morning because I've gotten into the habit of sharing things and putting some of my creative juices into gear. This morning, I remembered on this occasion coming to the TCI and sitting and brewing a cup of tea, because one of the things I do as part of my morning ritual is to, brew a cup of tea. I call it brewing and becoming, because for me it sets the tone for whatever else I have to deal with. Today, I put this saying, says, today's first cup is mine. I shall pour into myself. I shall be nourished. I feel no guilt about my self-care. What is good for me shall come first. It is the right thing to do. And as I look at the logo that says, "You the man," and I sit and I see Dr. Ewing in our presence, I remember that in 2015, "You the man" was an idea and a concept that looked at men's health. Because having done some research, across a couple of health facilities in the TCI, we found some alarming things. 30-year-olds diagnosed, confirmed with stage 2 diabetes in your 30s. That's weird. It's not regular, it's not normal, and it's not okay. Across 2 clinics, more than 40 men were diagnosed with severe hypertension. I mean, you need to sit and stop or you will fall. We looked at a number of issues around cardiac illness, around respiratory illness, and realizing that very much like everywhere else in the world, the picture of men's health is abysmal. And that is a dangerously normalized trend. So I think what I'm going to have to do is... Yeah, can you hear me better now, everyone? Good. Sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands. Now, when we look at the picture of men's health, and we look at the fact that men occupy an important place in our society, sometimes we don't feel like it. Sometimes we're not made to feel like it, but we're important. We provide a critical number of things in this society. Now, those of you who are here, look over at that every now and then, because I want this to become a part of how you understand your daily life from now on. We are men. Being a man, being a woman, being a boy, being a girl, is a gendered understanding. It means that, quite simply, There are social expectations, there are social conventions to being a man or a woman. Now, this is very different from just being male or female, because being male or female is just a matter of plumbing. Good? That's the visible part. The part that we don't see is often in the things that we do, our behavior. Our presenters, I see my brother Tinashe, as always a pleasure, and my brother, the nurse, mental health nurse, these guys mentioned some important things. They spoke about how men express behavior when it comes to health, and when it comes to any area of health. What's important is, we cannot extract being a man from men's health. So the name of this presentation, adequately, beautifully, and wonderfully named, speaks to some things which are far from the average of what happens to men. Because we use the word thriving. What does it mean to thrive? As a man, what does it mean to thrive? We see economics. So we thrive financially. We thrive materially. Good? In the pursuit of thriving to those things, what happens 95% of the time is what happened to me. You lose the ability to thrive in other areas. Because as a man, the world accepts you if you are able to bring something. Now, I avoid the table discussion for a number of reasons, as in what you bring to the table. Gentlemen, we are expected to be financially capable. We are supposed to be morally stable. We're supposed to be mentally and emotionally stable. And we are supposed to be leaders. If none of that has ever been a part of our upbringing, how are we going to do it? Do we just acquire it? We can't. Because all of this is learned behavior. All of these things are part of patterns that we have to learn, because it comes with acquiring different skill sets. As men, masculinity is a big part of us. Now, make no mistake, we have masculine and feminine traits. The adoption of some feminine traits is dangerous in the world of men. One of those, for instance, we see present in young men. Masculinity teaches us that we have the ability to switch off. Good? Men of a particular age, do we engage in arguments? Say it again, though. It just inward the fight. And I submit again a question. Have you ever argued with a woman? Next question. I don't even have to ask it, but have you ever argued with a woman and won? And it's never going to happen. Good? Because a man's mind and a woman's mind are different things. There's a neuroscientist called Dr. Mark Gongor that made a very fun analogy. He spoke about men's brains being a series of boxes. We compartmentalize. Okay? There's a box for the car, box for the house, box for the money, box for the job, box for the kids, box for the boys, and then there's your nothing box. In your nothing box, there is nothing. That's why we can sit, look at the television, and not move. Sit in one space, stare, enjoy it. And he surmised women's brains are a big ball of wire where everything is connected to everything. Good? There is no separation. And that's why we'll never win an argument with a woman. Ever. Because we can experience this event and put it in a box. Women experience the same event and have a physical, mental, emotional, olfactory, good, response. And if it is that discussion starts, you forgot our anniversary. Of course I forgot your anniversary, our anniversary. Because at this point in time, I'm dealing with the work box. Or I'm dealing with this other box. But no. On her side, you forgot the anniversary. And you're wearing that cologne. So that smell reminds her of the first thing that you ever forgot. And about that red shirt that she was wearing. And about the color of this. That was about that. And the reason why you don't like it. And blah, blah. And it explains why you'll never win that discussion or that argument. It's never going to happen. But what it says for us is that we engage in particular behaviors when it comes to things because we separate those things and we separate and compartmentalize. And until and unless we share certain skills and we share the value of those skills, we are stuck either in recovery or survival mode. Recovery is where we are attempting to treat with things that have happened, things that have hurt. Good? You've worked your career, and your career, you've built up this financial standing, this social standing. But over time, your physical health has suffered because you're working long hours to be able to provide. You're attending to things which take care of that area of you. But the physical self, you don't work out as much. You don't do physical activity as much. And you don't believe that doing the things that take care of you, that self-care that's spoken of here, it's no longer important. Because that's what we learn to do. That's a part of masculinity. We're taught that in many ways, what needs to happen for everybody else is important. But what needs to happen for you isn't. So sometimes we learn to carve out a little time with the boys. Because within that realm, whether it's a Sunday afternoon, whether it's whatever hour, we say this is for us. And what happens? Oh, you're spending time with the boys. And you know you do. It isn't seen that this is something which feeds us. There are elements of masculinity that we have to express. And the easiest means of expressing those things are sometimes in either social settings that we create for ourselves or circumstances which catch up with you, which leave you in a state of deficit. The value of being able to address those masculine things. For instance, we are taught very early that part of masculinity is hostility. We teach boys, when you fight, what do? There you go. You kill him. You win. When you ask for conflicts for younger boys, when you ask, okay, he was in a fight, the first question of, what's the first question? Did you win? If your girl was in a fight, what's the first question? Who hit my child? That aggression is encouraged. However, the pain of that aggression is discouraged. Because if you are hit hard, or you are hit and you fall down and you get up and cry, what's the first response? Why are you crying? What are you? You some kind of girl? No. So it's discouraged. And we carry that into later. And it affects our health-seeking behaviors. Women are encouraged, girls are encouraged to have a relationship with healthcare. You got to go check. You got to go see. Men aren't. Boys aren't. Because we have to keep plodding. We have to keep working. We have to keep proving our value. We have to keep ensuring that we stay relevant. And the relevance of our being changes over time and throughout our lives. One of the things that we have to remember is men have rites of passage. And it's one of the things that we must keep encouraging. Because a rite of passage is something that you pass through. I look at my young brother here, and I see he is well attired. He's got on some clean shoes, and he knows how to tie a tie. Do we understand that in passing on that, that's something that he learned? Who taught you? His dad taught him. That is one of the important values of a rite of passage, because we pass that on. Health and proper health is a legacy concern. And we have to be attentive to the fact that it is a legacy concern. We talked about genetic expression. Yes, you have a predisposition to certain things. Yes, those genes are there. But if they are expressed, depends on the exposure to certain things, our habits. Do we pass on to our young men healthy environments? Are we concerned with what happens in the house? Are we concerned with what goes on? We talk about single parent families. I get it. It's an archetype. I understand. However, we as men have to know that there's no way that any single person, or as a matter of fact, any two people, have the ability to successfully raise any child. It's a community concern. So every child is your concern. That's a masculine thing. That's what I grew up with. That's what the majority of our Caribbean communities grew up with. We know that as you become an older man, it's your represented right or duty to say something to those little dudes that you see doing something off. But you also have to remember that what we pass on intentionally is what is going to be adopted. We have to teach expression, because if we don't teach expression, we will teach repression. Repression kills us, and that's not an analogy. The link between your mental, emotional life and your physical life is direct. We speak about stress, and we spoke about cortisol. Now, cortisol as a hormone has its use. It's what helps circulation. It helps what's called vasodilation. See those things at your extremities? Yeah, it helps to open those blood vessels. So you know what? Oxygen goes to that. Now, that's a stress response. If you encounter a bear in the woods, adrenaline, cortisol, fight or flight, run. Now, when you run, your body does some beautiful things. It's able to dissipate the adrenaline, treat with the cortisol, drop some levels, because the physical response helps to work the process where, you know, your endocrine system is like, all right, we are now away from the stress. Okay? We've had the physical part. You'll shake a little bit. You'll feel a little exhausted because, you know, certain substances convert themselves. But the problem is, if you're exposed to stress every day and there is no bear to run from, there is no forest to run through, there is no physical activity to bring balance back to your body, what happens? It stays. And while it affects the extremities, you see the stuff at the center here? Yeah. If it's not converted or the levels don't drop, you find yourself, you know, resembling the Michelin Man a little bit more. All right? Oh, really? Yeah, definitely definitely not the intention. But it's a part of understanding why the physical activity is important and why, gentlemen who are older, we go play ball with the boys and we teach them that, and it helps us to maintain as well. What we also do intentionally is have conversations. Behold the value of the barber shop. What's the one thing you know for sure that every man does as part of preparing himself for any major event? You go and you get a neaten up. You either get a haircut, it's either clean, it's waved or it's made, or for the guys with the locks, you go and get your dread neaten, you get a mark, you get a little scalp treatment. And it's a part of how we prepare for everything else. You're getting a job, you're going to a graduation, you're going to a wedding. We do it. So here's what. We have to learn to apply that same sense of importance to other areas, because we got to prepare. Whenever you get nervous, there are chemical changes in your body. And if you don't learn how to dissipate that, then those chemicals are going to harm you. So learning how to box breathe. And you know what's simple? Masculinity involves learning, because we like to be proficient. We love prowess. Any football fans? You learn, it doesn't matter what type. Whether it's English, whether it's soccer or that game that's played in that place. You learn things. You know who your teams. You learn the point system. You learn the scoring. You learn the penalties. You know who you like and what style you like best. That is a part of masculinity. So we have to be able to spread that across our head-seeking behaviors, because it's a part of how we get things done, how we communicate. Listen, the world has not seen any answer for a well-prepared, well-spoken, eloquent man. Ladies, am I wrong? Okay, just for clarification. Good? We have to take that and make it a part of how we groom our brothers, our uncles, our nephews, our sons. Because the inability to express yourself clearly means you'll hold things in. And that's a dangerous practice in manhood. Because we then end up relying on the unfavorable things to happen to be able to let it out. We wait until we get drunk to let it out. We wait until that team loses to cry. I know fellas who go to sporting events and back losing teams simply because that's the only outlet that they get to shed some tears. And that's not okay. Because then you also get drunk. So you end up broke, drunk, and in tears. And that's not a positive trifecta at all. Good? One of the things that we don't treat with is a matter of grief. We feel grief. We are men. We feel deeply, you know. It's not that we don't have emotions. It's just that we've been taught, shut up, suck it up, hold it in. There is only so much room on the inside for this to be held in. So we have to be able to create the safe space to express. I hear people talking about, oh, them boys under the tree. All right. There's a reason they're under the tree. Because you're not under the tree. So they don't have to listen to and I won't say it because I still have to work with women afterwards. Safe declarations and everything. But it's important. So we have to get to under the tree. One of the reasons that this campaign, You the Man, was created initially was to make sure that we could remove barriers and reduce barriers to help access health care. And accessing it is as simple as how we speak about testing and screening. In a recent discussion, the issue of cancer was raised. Colon cancer and the mysteriously caused other cancers that exist within men's sexual and reproductive health. And you spoke about how you get tested. Okay, how are you going to check your prostate? Everybody shut up. Everybody was quiet. Nobody wanted to speak. Because there's only one way that that is spoken of. And it's not spoken of favorably. It's spoken of, oh boy, you got your prostate examined. Silence. And then the laughter. Did the doctor have big hands? So we have to also understand that in reaching out to masculinity, there's a way that we have to speak, and there's a way that we have to normalize certain things. And the first thing we have to normalize is that we have to treat men's health as other than a joke. This week, I see Andy. Thanks for coming this week. I had a discussion with two men of different eras. And the young man, Benson, he said that men's health is so serious that it's a joke. And the issues of it are so serious that it's a joke. And he spoke about, how we treat with men's health and talking about it. And in the conversation, he said, yeah, okay, so he's dreading getting to the age where he has to check his prostate. I said, why? He said, because I don't want nobody doing that thing down there. I said, well, do you know that there is a retinal exam that you can take? Do you know that you can check PSA levels via blood test? Do you know that you can get an MRI? All of which are available. And he said, what? I said, yeah. Those are different ways that you can check your prostate. So we have to involve the fact that if we want to continue with moving men's health forward, we have to speak to men as men. We have to give options, because as men, options are what we're raised to have. It's how we consider things. We need more information. And we need that information in a manner that doesn't ridicule or make fun of our concerns, because those concerns are valid concerns. We also have to understand that when we speak of pain, nobody makes fun of women's and girls' pains. Have a pain as a guy. Have a pain as a man. The first thing is, you all can't take pain. And we make babies. And if men had to make babies, the population would be much smaller. Okay, we get it. But we have pains. And we have real pain. I submit to you that I have been, unfortunately, in the presence of men passing a kidney stone. It is no fun. But also the discussion about something as simple as the habit of drinking water is also a part of how we wrap an entire holistic issue around self-care. We don't talk about drinking water, but we raise the issue of how much you could drink. We drink alcohol, and we talk about drinking alcohol favorably. We don't set limits. We don't talk about limits. Good? We don't talk about get the tests and present the options. We don't talk about, all right, we're moving from one stage of life to the other. And as we move through those different stages, we have to adopt different habits. Because self-care is a real issue. And for us to be able to get to thriving, we have to get past surviving. Now, we spoke about recovery, but survival for men is an expansive field through which there are multiple obstacles because we have social objectives to fulfill. You don't want to be seen as unprepared. You don't want to be seen as inept. You don't want to feel unaccomplished. You don't want to feel unheard. But we all live in that space as men sometimes where you are unheard. Because who listens? Greetings in the Caribbean among men are a ritual that basically initiates contact. Hey, how you doing? I'm good. You all right? Yeah, I all right. What's happening? Man, I right here. And all of those, half of the time, are lies. Because as men, we don't want to burden you. We don't believe you want to hear. You ask how we're doing as part of a convention. You know, it's a social thing that you do. Do you really want to hear how I'm doing? And we take that in. So, we have to engage in what we do when we go to bars. Everybody. A bar is a safe space for men. You come, we drink, we talk sports, we look at sports. We are more welcoming in that atmosphere of any brother's issue than we are in some of the other places that should be more welcoming, which I shall not name. And we know them. So we have to, see, I didn't say that you could name them, but you know. So we have to hold to those conventions. Let's be welcoming. When we ask, hey, how you doing, bro? And they say, I good. You sure you good? What does that mean? Because you have to be your brother's keeper. And while it may be out of weird or strange to do that for a stranger, you know, man, you have brothers in church. You have brothers that you go to school with. You have brethren that you share different spaces with. Create a space to actually allow them to say, yeah, I'm not all right, I'm not okay. All right, yeah, you know, or ask a specific question, because we are great at skipping to the general. We're great at responding in generalized ways. But when posed with a specific question, we respond differently. Because getting out of the survival space can be difficult. There are men who have died in the middle of survival because survival doesn't give you leeway to experience rest or to express a desire for something else. I gave that quote this morning because I remember two brothers who committed what I call active suicide. Active suicide is where you have received a diagnosis. You know what you have to do for treatment. However, you decide not to burden anyone. You decide not to share the challenge. And you decide, it's okay, I'll die. But I'll die on my own terms. And as I stand here, I remember two brothers in particular who were what we call star boys. Good? These dudes, intellectually up there throughout their lives. They achieved, high achievers. Okay? Not just nationally back home where I'm from, but internationally in their fields. They were real star boys. Both received separate diagnoses. One had kidney failure, One was diabetic. That changed their lives. One experienced losing his wife, his life partner, his everything, and went into expressed clinical depression, which was something he was treating with all along, but he's high function depression. So he's always outgoing. He's always out there. He's always doing something. He's always helping people. But when he lost his anchor, he became a different person. He was still outgoing, but he said, "No, I'm not going for dialysis." And the other brother, diabetes, he would be traveling. We'd run into each other all the time, airports, planes, different spaces. And then he developed a circulatory issue and lost a couple toes, then a foot, then a leg, then the other one. I couldn't get home in time to see him, because this is me. I think I can make a difference. But I didn't get home in time. So I spoke to one of his brothers and he said, he doesn't want to hear anybody. He doesn't want to see anybody. He's like, nah, he's not going. And I say this and point out these two things because I lost those brothers on the same day last year. They both passed away in the same day. And it actively reminded me, I have some rituals that I do every morning. One of them is I have a little core of brothers who I reach out to. Say, hey, what's up? You good? Blessings on your day. Good wishes. Positivity. And sometimes it's how you, and I don't ask if you're good. I ask how you're doing. Because I'm not giving you the escape to say, you good? Yeah, I'm good. No, how you doing? And I think it's a worthwhile practice. So in your circles, gents, send out the message. And I say it because I see a lot of what I call childish logic spread by people who don't want to admit that they haven't moved beyond being teenagers, even though their years are significantly senior. They say, check on who checks for you. Rubbish. Because sometimes that person can't check for you. There are people who always check in for people. The day that you don't see them check for you, check in, because that may be the day they need you to check in most. Be able to shoulder, just nudge, just say something, just reach out. Because it is proven, and I thank the mental health nurse for opening that door. It is proven that your physical health and your mental health and emotional health are linked. New research has shown that repeated exposure to traumatic events changes your physiology. You can get cancer without never touching a smoke, a cigarette, or some other carcinogen. Because the expression of it, what happens when you have trauma, it's stored in your physiology. Your body goes through change. And if you happen to experience it over time, it's going to change. It's going to damage. So, do the check-ins. Let's do the checkups. Let's make sure that we make the impact. Each one, check your team. Be there. Speak to our young guys. Because our young guys need to learn how important masculine energy is and how important masculine habits are. Because as they are, there's something that is happening to our young men where they've taken in that feminine trait that we made fun of earlier. Women don't end arguments. They don't. They don't. That's why you don't win. Because there'll be several sorties, but you're not going to win. In the world of girls and women, they war all the time. They do that. They speak in what's called battle cry. And when young men do it, and they speak in that battle cry, that does a different thing in man world. When they can't end an argument, it's always a swing back. Somebody comes back with something. Somebody gets a weapon. Somebody gets a crew. That's not healthy for them. So we have to make a concerted effort to teach them there's an end to it. Wrap it up. It doesn't have to continue. Because that is also a health issue. And that's a wide-ranging health issue. Because if we mention losing people to heart disease, hypertension, and complications of diabetes, violence is a disease. And the far-reaching consequences of it hit us all in some very, very close spaces. If you don't feel safe, you live frightened and in survival mode. You will engage in some discriminatory behaviors because that's not natural to you. I'll close by saying, in addition to everything else that we've spoken of and shared, we speak often about the crab in a barrel syndrome, where we said, okay, someone's trying to reach out, and as soon as you reach up, someone grabs them down. Why has no one ever considered that a barrel is not the natural habitat for crabs? And why would you put them there to engage in that unhealthy behavior? Ladies and gentlemen, especially gentlemen, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.